So I'm Dottie Metcalf-Lundenberger, and I was hired to be an astronaut in the class of 2004. And an additional training was being the commander of NEEMO 16. So that's the NASA Extreme Environment Mission Operations, where we use an underwater habitat as our analog for spaceflight.
So while it may not at first glance seem that underwater and outer space are similar, the fact that they're both extreme environments makes them actually a really good analog.
The Aquarius habitat is now currently owned by the Florida International University. It works in cooperation with NOAA and with NASA.
You know, the habitat was built back in 1986, 1987 timeframe.
A full, university research lab and putting it underwater, computers and electronics and all.
There's only one of it in the whole world. There's no other undersea research laboratory.
And we are here supporting the Aquarius NEEMO 23 mission that is being conducted 5 miles offshore and 60 feet down.
The NEEMO projects are really exciting. There's a lot going on. Of course, we have our aquanauts living in the habitat and doing simulated spacewalks outside of that habitat. We learn a lot about how to do science on other planetary surfaces from just the EVAs or extravehicular activities.
Being in the water is great because we can weigh people out, we can weigh out tools and practice floating. You can weigh someone out for the moon or weigh someone out for Mars.
Now that NASA is thinking about a return to the moon and actually going on to Mars, NEEMO is even more important in different and exciting ways. So by testing with the NEEMO 23 project, we're actually able to start to think about not only the hardware that the astronauts can use in the near term on an International Space Station, we're able to actually start testing technologies and concepts for operating on the lunar surface and the surface of Mars. It's been really great learning how marine science and planetary science are really pretty similar, and it's what makes NEEMO such a great analog.
For NEEMO 23, we have 2 technicians from FIU, and then we also have a 4 female science crew. 2 of those are marine scientists, and then we have an astronaut and an astronaut candidate.
Just like in space, like astronauts get all the glory, the aquanauts get all the glory, but really it's a much larger team. People put in hours on the ground in mission control, and we really appreciated all their help.
So we basically have to manage all the diving operations, we have to get the boats ready, that's all that logistics part of it, right? And then we also have to stay on watches because we monitor remotely the life support systems, the cameras and things like that.
Mission control is 24/7.
You could work, midnight to 5 a.m. You could work, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
We've learned that, a rotation matters, so that not anybody's tired while they're on watch. We always have to be on our A game.
It's just part of the fun, is just coming to work and not knowing what you're going to do that day.
It is a complex and very serious environment. You cannot just leave the Aquarius habitat and be safe.
This is a gazebo. These are periodically placed around the reef, and they're kind of like a break room for the aquanauts. There's air inside of these. They can pop up in here, take out the regulators, and have a conversation.
And to bring food down, they put it in these big pots that are pressurized.
Our life support buoy is a 33-foot diameter discus buoy that sits overhead that is moored in place right over the habitat, which basically supplies the breathing air for everybody living inside. It supplies the electricity for all our onboard systems.
So right here we have the LSV monitor. It pretty much tells us which compressor is actually running. It tells us our voltage and all of our pretty much electricity that's going on underwater. We have an O2 and CO2 analyzer also as a depth gauge. Pretty much this is our chat, the way that we can relay information. If they need something that they don't necessarily have to use the phone for or call, they could just text us. So that's to watch this.
There's always what I like to call planned delays, okay? And planned delays, I'm kind of joking about it, planned delays are changes that you weren't expecting that then sort of prolongs things. Okay, you have a piece of equipment that big, that expensive, underwater, right in Hurricane Alley, right? In the Florida Keys, okay?
Hurricane Irma came through in September of 2017. The life support buoy above Aquarius was actually torn from the moorings.
I look back and when I saw the damage, I just went, oh man. But you know, we pick our head up and we say, no, we're not going to let this take us out. You know, how can we fix this? What do we need to do to get back up on our feet? So yeah, and here we are.
If you're a diver, you can't really spend a significant amount of time on the bottom. You're restricted by your air in your tank, your no decompression times.
You only really can work down there for about an hour and a half, so you can't really get much done.
At a certain depth, you stop taking on inert gas. Your body, your tissues, your blood becomes essentially saturated. So that means you can stay at that depth for an indefinite period of time.
Aquarius kind of gives scientists and divers the gift of time. If they're conducting research, they can spend a longer amount of time collecting that data so that they can later analyze it.
So we're actually taking samples of corals and sponges. We're deploying instruments that tell us how healthy they are. We're also constructing coral nurseries, and so we're partnering with the Coral Restoration Foundation to learn about which corals grow best at which depths and how we can hopefully one day repopulate the reef with them.
Which is so important here in the Keys because, you know, we're facing major decline of our coral reefs.
The corals are dying and the ocean's becoming inhospitable for them. So what we're focusing on is trying to find ways to help them along. What we are doing at Aquarius is we have planted half a dozen trees, they call them coral trees. They have platforms that actually hold small coral fragments on them. These are actually a newer design provided by the Coral Restoration Foundation just down the road. And they have those platforms that can hold the boulder corals. The aquanauts actually came in and constructed the trees on the ocean floor with us sort of giving them a little bit of guidance from the science trip. And it allows us to have a very, very well controlled environment in which to raise these corals along the base.
My favorite part about being with the program is the ability to engage with students.
It's a great tool to teach people about the ocean, teach people about exploration and discovery and research, and to question things and to understand the natural world a little bit better. We can reach so many students through Aquarius.
For example, with our virtual field trip program, we have been able to connect students in 45 different countries.
Just having the opportunity to talk to someone underwater might inspire them to be a scientist or want to learn more about the ocean.
Most people that like the ocean or enjoy the ocean or are advocates for the ocean, you know, most people could probably go back and say, oh, when I was a kid I saw this program or I saw this and I just fell in love with it.
And hopefully that inspires them to want to protect the ocean and become stewards for the marine environment.
We have aquanauts. Come talk to them, learn from them. Scientists aren't some scary person in a lab coat that you can't talk to. They're approachable and they're cool, and you can be like them if you want to be a scientist.
I think people should care about Aquarius because we do something very special here. We do something here that we can't do anywhere else in the world.
It's very good at simulating space, and it has its own uniqueness that makes it Aquarius.